cloaking to look like a helicopter or a aircraft.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I never really thought about that. Now, I've thought about them, aliens cloaking themselves as like owls or other things out there that we socialize with, but I never really thought about that. But that's a good point. Why couldn't they do that? If they could do it, if they can make you think that you're looking at them and they're owls or other animals, why couldn't they make you, when you're looking at their UFO, it's really you're looking at a plane when it's not even a plane.
Well, that's just it. I mean, they could shapeshift, the object of what they have to, again, if they've been here numerous times with, say, scouting our planet, what better way not to raise suspicion is to shapeshift into something we're all familiar with?
Exactly. It kind of reminds me, you ever see them hieroglyphs in the pyramids or in some of the work around there? Some of them look exactly like airplanes and helicopters and submarines. Have you ever seen those? It's mind-boggling.
It is. So I got a funny feeling a lot is going on more than what we even realize. The new trend right now, and you might try because you eat a lot of cereal. You eat more cereal. You're one of the very few people that probably consume more cereal than anybody I've ever even knew about. But do you know what the new fad is?
What?
Putting ice cubes in their cereal.
Oh, Lord. I don't think I can do that one. I barely just put enough milk in to get it down, but ice cubes, that's a new one. I don't even know where to go with that one. What, do you wait for it to melt a little bit, or you just kind of crunch them up, too?
You crunch and eat it with your cereal. It's the big fad.
Wow, I've never heard of that fad, but I don't think I'm going to try it.
I wouldn't want to try it either. It's a good way to break a tooth or something like that. I mean, chomping on ice cubes. Oh, that's another thing these dogs like doing. We have an ice dispenser on the front of the refrigerator.
Oh, boy.
And they love ice cubes.
Now, have they learned to dispense their own ice yet?
Yeah, they do. That's the whole problem. And instead of being a cup underneath it, it shoots it out on the floor, and then they run, and it's like a game to them. And then they grab a hold of it and then crunch it up, and then they just keep doing it.
Oh, boy. I can see a wet floor in there sometimes.
Yeah. You can actually see somebody walking into the kitchen and almost falling, like my wife or my daughter or my other son, because, the floor will be all wet and ice cubes on the floor. And the dogs look at you like, I didn't do it.
It wasn't me. That's not cold water from me on the floor. No, that Gary did it.
Yeah, I tell you, my son got these dogs so into watching movies. But they don't like watching love movies. They don't like watching suspense movies. They don't even pay attention. It has to be a thriller, where somebody has a butcher knife and chopping somebody up. They'll sit there and watch that type of show for hours. They just are glued to the screen. I didn't believe it till he said, "Oh, well, here's a DVD. Put it in and let them watch it." And I figured, okay, yeah. And I tried. When he said they watch TV, I tried. They wouldn't pay attention at all. You put something like that in, they're glued to it.
Don't dare put Lassie or Benji in, but put in the old Friday the 13th or something, and they're there. They're in.
Yeah, it has to be one of those stabbing. It's weird.
Yeah, it sounds like they got unique taste in horror.
Yeah, I wonder why.
They're learning things for the future, Gary.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They're not learning it from me, I can tell you that.
If you keep putting the videos in for them, you're teaching them.
No, I only did that once to see, and I didn't believe them.
Wait till they come at you with an axe in their mouth. Oh, Lord.
Why would you say something like that? They might be listening to the show. Are you going to take the responsibility? Right. Are you going to take the responsibility of somebody else's dog coming in with an axe and bringing it to somebody in their bed?
Listen, that's a good point, because all these animals seem to be uniting and standing up against mankind lately. That could be what they're doing. They're getting some reconnaissance, and they're getting ready to revolt.
I don't know. Did you see that on the website I put up about scientists now has basically taken a frog and created it robotically. So they can program it to do things, but if it gets hurt, it instantly heals itself.
Yeah, I've got something similar with a story coming up on the news similar to that. But yeah, that's, again, when I don't know how to say this. When does it come, when they become where they have their own conscience and decide what they want to do?
Well,
that's my question.
That scares me. There was a movie back about 25 years ago where the kid basically breaks into a computer system. He's a computer hacker kid, okay? And he didn't realize he got into the government's, military computer, supercomputer that controls our missiles and all that stuff. And he started playing a game with the computer, very basic games. Then it got into a game, you want to play war. And then the computer actually then, at that point, started wanting to play war, real war. With, Russia, Soviet Union at the time. It was a really interesting movie. It tells me it scares me. Okay, we are building computers in generations of computers that's so far advanced we can't even comprehend that the government has. And what state is it going to be when a computer actually starts making the decisions and making
exactly,
and we give it the permission to make these decisions? Maybe for national security or whatever, where it can make a decision faster than we could. What would stop it at one point, a computer, to get to a point where it starts looking at us like we're nothing? We are
obsolete.
We're obsolete. It's scary. I mean, you've seen like that. You've seen that on Twilight Zone, Outer Limits. Even Star Trek had a series on where a computer, started thinking like these people need to be, exterminated. It's weird. Maybe someday down the road that could actually happen.
Yeah, with the AI intelligence and then intertwining it with biology, it's a recipe for disaster. It could happen. And like the movie Terminator and a few other of those, they kind of touched on that a little bit. And again, the military wants to use some of that technology in the battlefields and stuff. But here's the thing, or even in drones. So it's going to get to a point when they have to make the decision: do we save these 10 soldiers of ours, or is that kind of not logical and just for the better of the cause, just wipe everybody out, and move on because I saved myself, the machine, or when all the animals seem to be doing, all the machines interface with each other and rise up like a couple of the movies and turn against us.
That's what I was just basically saying.
I know God knows they say we're obsolete. We're in trouble.
Well, look at, the military is already experimenting with robots. Some of it has been actually shown on the media. These robots are capable of, doing combat. I'm sure you've seen a couple of these, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. They learned right on the spot. Like the one guy was sneaking up behind him and knocking him down, but after a couple of them, they learned how to overcome that. And you couldn't do that no more, and how they could turn on you. So, yeah, they learn pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, or learning to go out in a situation where you're shooting at an object, right? That could be a threat. So you have the shooter there, and he's shooting, and you have this robot next to him shooting, right? And the robot was actually outperforming the human.
Oh, yeah, because you take out the emotionalness, you take out the mentalness, you take out the physicalness of the shaking or any of that is out of it. So it's dead eye, very steady, and it's done. It's going to outperform us every time.
Well, from the standpoint, you'd think about what happens if it malfunctions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
No, instead of taking out the enemy, it's going to turn and start taking out, its allies, and which at that point is going to outperform any human.
And what if one day it's our machines against an enemy's machines, but then they just, like you kind of saying, they say, hey, why are we fighting each other? It's the humans that are obsolete, and then we would really be in trouble because the machines are all over the world, and if we interface with each other, we don't stand a chance.
Now, in Russia, on the news today, Putin has, the government is all resigned. And he's basically going, instead of being president anymore, he's going to make himself the minister of the country.
Huh. Well, that ought to be interesting.
Well, because in Russia they got a 2-year or whatever the term for president, and he can't be president anymore. So the new thing is, well, gee, we'll disband the government, and now I'm going to be,
Yeah, it sounds like he's along the lines he wants to be called Das Fuhrer.
Well, I don't know if Das Fuhrer or whatever you want to call it. It just sounds like he figured a way to stay in power.
Yeah, exactly. And that's scary because if somebody's going to go do those kind of devious, nefarious kind of things, what's the limit to the nefarious, devious things that he will do?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of funny that, I guess you have no choice, right? You're in the cabinet and all that stuff, right? And you are, in charge of different divisions of the government. And then all of a sudden you have the leader say, well, you know what? We're going to reform the government. So I'm disbanding the government. You all have to resign immediately. And I guess and I wonder if they say, well, I'm not going to resign. I wonder what would happen.
Well, he probably says you're fired, or if you don't go, you're going to get fired on, probably with that kind of situation. Probably you don't have much of a choice if you want to live, probably.
Well, he's going to be the minister of something of Russia at that point when, this reform comes. So, he's going to be president then that. And so that means he can stay on past 2024.
Yeah, it's pretty much like if it does that, it's pretty much
dictatorship.
Along the lines. Yeah, I was just going to say along the lines of a dictatorship, exactly.
Yeah, I found that interesting in the news today. And then also in the news, the Congress transmitted to the Senate the impeachment for Trump.
So what that means is going to go forward then?
Well, I don't, what it means at this point. I am, I voted for Trump. That's all I'm going to say. But I look at both Congress, I look at the Senate, I look at the Republicans, I look at the Democrats, and my hair just stands straight up at this point because I have never in all my adult life seen something that to me is like a giant circus.
It is. And, the weird part is even if an independent would win, you're still going to have other parties in there, either Democrats or Republicans, so it's a lose-lose. It's like, I don't know where you go with this situation.
I don't either. Anyway, we're going to be on break. When we come back, who is our guest tonight?
Steve Barone, and he's going to talk about UFOs over Vegas.
And it's going to be really interesting. So tell your friends, share it on your media to, tune in now because this is going to be an interesting show. We'll be back, well, actually in about 8 minutes because we got our little break and then we have James with the news.
Mind. Your radio is a cosmic doorway and your psyche begins to spark. When you tune in to Gary and the Sun and Night Dreams After Dark.